Hello. Um, I had stopped doing these classes because nobody was really watching them, and I usually was only doing them when I was going to do a class for Udemy and my platforms. But people are becoming more insane by the day, and it's getting to the point where um, I just want to leave something behind. I want to put something out to try to combat it or try to at least explain it. And I'm getting old, body's breaking down, so I don't know how much time I have, and I want to leave as much as I can out there. Plus, as the society becomes more insane, it's going to be more difficult for sane people to function in the world, to actually materially be able to sustain ourselves. So while I have that ability, I'm going to try to make these videos. This is going to be a long series. I'm going to try to make short videos. I'm using the miseducation of the Negro. And this was written for the enslaved United States enslaved African branch of the African tree or this part of the diaspora. But as I read, you're going to notice that these things can be, you're going to notice that this is happening to your group, your ethnic group, no matter where you're from. So, yes, I'm using a black book to make a broad statement about humanity. We were driven insane. This is part one. Chapter one, the seed of the trouble. The educated Negroes, have the attitude of contempt toward their own people because in their own as well as in their mixed schools, Negroes are taught to admire the Hebrew, the Greek, the Latin, the Teuton, and to despise the African. Of the hundreds of Negro high schools recently examined by an expert in the United States Bureau of Education, only 18 offer a course taking up the history of the Negro. And in most of the Negro colleges and universities where the Negro is thought of, the race is studied only as a problem or dismissed as of little consequence. Now, that has changed as far as what you can learn in the university, but most black people that come from the enslaved lineage don't go to college. And I think it's something like 90 something percent of us don't go. A lot of us barely finish high school. For example, an officer of a Negro university thinking that an additional course on the Negro should be given there called upon the Negro Doctor of Philosophy of the faculty to offer such work. He promptly informed the officer that he knew nothing about the Negro. He did not go to school to waste his time that way. He went to be educated in a system which dismisses the Negro as a non-entity. It's very important. We're dealing with systems here. This is what drove us insane, these systems and these institutions. At a Negro summer school 2 years ago, a white instructor gave a course on the Negro using for his text a work which teaches that whites are superior to the blacks. When asked by one of the students why he used such a textbook, the instructor replied that he wanted them to get that point of view. Even schools for Negroes, then, are places where they must be convinced of their inferiority. The thought of inferiority of the Negro is drilled into him in almost every class he enters and in almost every book he studies. If he happens to leave school after he masters the fundamentals, before he finishes high school or reaches college, he will naturally escape some of this bias and may recover in time to be of service to his people. Practically all of the successful Negroes in this country are of the uneducated type or of that of Negroes who have had no formal education at all. The large majority of Negroes who have put on finishing touches of our best colleges are all but worthless in the development of their people. If after leaving school, they have the opportunity to give out to Negroes what traducers of the race would like to have it learned. Such persons may thereby earn a living at teaching or preaching what they have been taught, but they never become a constructive force in the development of the race. The so-called school then becomes a questionable factor in the life of this despised people. So, hold this book here. So, first, we need to understand we're dealing with institutions and systems that have driven us insane. They have not taught us what they need to teach us. They're teaching us some people are inferior, some people are superior. You also must understand when it comes to I don't know if you can see my degrees up on the wall, right? Oh, sorry, right there. I have two. Um, One where I studied with John Manbeck, print journalism and English education from the University of South Carolina, Columbia. Very interesting living down there and going to that school. Um, Being educated in a Klan state was interesting, and it's still a Klan state. So, um, when you have these degrees, it doesn't mean that you're educated. Some people who have degrees, some schools are better than others. My degree is not seen the same as someone who went to NYU or Harvard, right? But I didn't just go through the motions. I actually studied. As you can tell if you look at my content material, I studied. I studied print journalism. I can actually build a newspaper physically, and um, I can write. I can write features. I can write about sports. I could do it all. Uh, and when it comes to English education, I took literature very seriously, especially because up until that point, I would read a lot of nonfiction. So this forced me to read a lot of fiction, and I enjoyed it. And I still do try to get some just to lighten things up. So there's some people who studied, and there's some people who just did their assignments and got their degree. And so having a degree, which you can consider yourself educated, only means that you have the degree. You can't tell from the degree who actually knows anything. What you can tell, and one thing you can't deny a person who finished college is they did their assignments. Well, now with ChatGPT, you can't even tell that. So a new degree, you can't tell anything. But I'm 54. My degrees are older. I did the work. And I can write a paper. I can write an 8 to 10 page paper if you gave me the assignment today, like ChatGPT. There used to be websites where we could sell papers for people, write papers for people, but now ChatGPT is doing it. So that's not really a thing anymore. But having a degree, being quote unquote educated, doesn't really mean anything. So to base any kind of system or any kind of institution on that today is meaningless. It's a lot like our money, it's fiat. And that is insane. If you base any kind of real social constructs or any kind of try to live on those kinds of things, fiat things, things that are hollow, sand, like building your house on sand, that's an insane thing to do. And that's one of the things that has driven people insane. It has forced people into these categories where I have this, I am this, and you are not. The same thing to do would be we're human beings. We're human beings, that's the baseline. And then you take it from there. This human being studies. Maybe they have a degree, maybe they don't. This human being doesn't study anything, just goes along to get along, conforms to whatever. That human being is an addict. That human being is a philosopher. You see, this is a sane way to view things, not to fragment things based on pieces of paper that might mean something or not. See you next time for part 2. And hopefully I try to keep these as short as I can. Be safe. It's crazy, crazy out there.